cry sometimes when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out what's in my head, and I'm feeling little familiar. So I wake up in the morning and I step outside and I take a deep breath and I get real high and I from the tunnel, what's going on? So we're like, what? And I say, hey, yeah, 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 hey, yeah.
You guys sing along?
What's going on?
On this trip, our biggest priority is renovating a shower, top to bottom. Now, you may, if you watch some of the other videos, remember that we started renovating a different shower in what we call the fancy bedroom. But we ran into some challenges there because that bathroom is an old stairwell, and we decided to wait on that.
I think that this was another entrance into the library
Really?
from the back of the house.
So we decided to pivot and redo the shower in our bedroom. And I have been planning this for several months now from the other side of the world. We're very happy with the results. There's just been a lot of, I guess, things learned and a lot of experience gained from doing something like this.
Salut, I'm Patrick.
And I'm Beth.
We're fixing up an old townhouse in the Loire Valley of France, uncovering history and trying to solve mysteries.
We're creating our home and a space for art workshops. Come on along.
That is un bac à douche, shower pan. That will be going in where the old shower used to be. And here are the many accoutrements. Actually, that's not all of them, but it is a lot of it. There are waterproofing kits, more waterproofing kits, and the actual tap that is going to be on the shower. That is quite a piece of hardware. That's solid stuff. The shower pan itself is metal with a glazed, what was that, a porcelain glaze? I don't remember. It's not a very expensive one, but essentially it will sit where the old one used to be. Let me show you. So here is the old bathroom with the shower removed. And let me just say, it was quite a bit of work. I guess I knew it would be, but the bathroom itself has a poured slab. It's about, I don't know, 4 centimeters deep. And the porcelain pan that was the old shower was down in there. So I had to actually jackhammer that out. I found it to really work quite well in this. So there's the drain, and I found that the drain actually had a leak, a very small leak, so there was a lot of moisture under here, which will go away once I install my new bac à douche. And there are the hot and cold feeds, and they go up to the old, notoriously finicky hot and cold taps. My next part of this is that I need to tap into the hot and cold, and I'm going to do that putting valves on and to be able to turn off the hot and cold water at any time to service the shower itself. Now, I had thought about turning off the hot and cold for the entire bathroom. However, finding the single source of hot and cold for this bathroom is something it's not obvious. I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to, which means I'm going to put cutoff valves just for the shower here. And then whenever I renovate the rest of the bathroom, I'll be putting valves on those as well. And then I've got to put, this is the plate for the taps that's going to go on the wall. And that is all pretty much straightforward except for one thing. This wall is only about 3 or 4 centimeters thick. It is very narrow cinder or ceramic. No, it's not ceramic. What is that? Terracotta brick? It's brick, whatever. It's very thin. The other side of this wall is the laundry room. And so the tap plate that I just showed will not actually fit inside the wall. It will actually stick out into the laundry room. Here we are in the laundry room behind the shower, and this is the place where those taps are going to be. They're going to be right here, somewhere here. All right, so one thing that I'm going to do is remove the bidet. Yes, the bidet is going to go away. We're going to replace the sink pedestal, and then there will still be room for a nice shelf where we'll have, well, you know, a nice bathroom shelving in it. So this will be out of the way. The funny thing about bidet is that for a long time they were required by law to have in a bathroom in France. Apparently, that's what I was told. And so this bathroom, I think, was remodeled in 1979. And so it would have probably fallen under that, and they had to put one in there. It could also be that they actually wanted the bidet. I think people just had them. Some people used them, some didn't, but either way, it's not practical for modern living. So we're going to remove it. So the drain under the bac à douche is one of these. It looks like an old bedpan. It is actually, you know, the drain that goes under the hole of the bac à douche. And these are really very clever. They have an automatic seal for sewer gases. So you just hook them up, and there is no air backflow possible through the drain, the way that they're designed. And so because we already have an indention, because of this the way the slab was built, this is going to sit below ground level, and it's going to be connected up to that. And that means that the bac à douche can be at floor level. Now, before I demolish this, sitting at home in Austin, I planned that I was going to have to raise up. I didn't know that this would go down here, so I thought that that I would have to have clearance for that on top of this level, and so I planned that the whole thing would be up higher, and then we'd have to build out some kind of platform for the shower, which is very common here. But I was so happy that this was an option, that this was here, and now the bac à douche or shower tray can just be at floor level, and it's a much nicer transition and finish. So I'm excited about that. I got the shutoff valves installed, hot and cold. Yeah, one of them should probably be blue, one should be red, but
doesn't matter. So compression fitting into a valve, and then the new multi-couche will come in here, and then will be tied into the plate. Still a lot of work to do though.
So here we are after a few days of work. It's been very hot in France. So for North Americans, it's been, it got to 100 degrees yesterday, which is about 40 degrees Celsius, I think. So it's been a little bit of a challenge working in this heat. I'm upstairs and it gets very warm. So I've been pacing myself. So anyway, I have got the plumbing in there. So the hot and cold now, it all feeds from this area here. On the other side, there's a washing machine. I tied in with some compression fittings and valves. I'm going to put a box on that will cover that up eventually. This will be the glass shower divider. And so then I ran the hot and cold there. It goes into the other room behind here, behind the wall, which I'll show you in a minute. And then I patched up the old tap set. The end of the hot and cold is this plate that the taps are going to mount to, which is very exciting. And I capped them off. And I did a pressure test and no leaks. So that's amazing. Let me go show you what it looks like behind this wall. So here we are behind the wall. And the first thing to note is, before you judge my work, this wall is very thin. So it's basically a brickwork that's only, for North American, that's like 1.25 inches. So it's only a few centimeters, and then you have drywall. So normally modern fittings are made for standard walls that are thicker. And so you have to improvise, basically. So I decided, since this is a laundry room and we're going to do something else with it in the future, I decided I wanted a shower now. So I went ahead and just went through the wall and then ran the lines up here into the back of that plate. And I used multi-couche, which is multi-layer there's a tool that you press that together. It's not PEX. They have another system here called PEX that is like PEX, called PER, but this is multi-couche, and this plastic tubing is flexible. So when I put the hole through the wall, I hit a wire and immediately went through that. So I have to figure out what happened there. All the lights seem to work still. So anyway, so that is the back of the shower. And I think in the future we will pull these in and then probably, put in like a jut out wall or something here that will obviously hide this. The next step today is to smooth the walls and put a coat of very light smoothing plaster on it so that it's ready to take the moisture barrier and then tile. But here's an interesting thing. There's always a challenge. There's many challenges with something like this. So there's the drain that I have to tie into. This is the drain unit that goes under the shower pan. And that fitting is not optional, so that has a rubber gasket in it, and so that seals that. And then I have to step down from, this is 50 millimeter, and the old work is 40 millimeters. They assume that you have new work that's 50, but I have to tie into 40. So now I have to step down and I have to make this impossible turn. So I have a plan for that. Another thing is they make these cool support units. It's very high density styrofoam, and it goes under the middle of the pan. I'm going to have a frame that the pan sits on, but then you have support in the middle. And the way this works is you have this string, so you stick this to the bottom of the pan, you lay the pan down, and then this string allows you to pull this along. It's a wedge that moves, and it increases its height until it meets the floor. So you actually adjust it by pulling the string through the drain hole while it's in place and then leaving it there, and then you've got the support there. It's very clever and very necessary. Otherwise, the middle of the pan would be flexing. You can't have that. So that has to be right here. And so this has very limited placement options. So I'm actually going to do something like, I think like this, and then have a flexible tube come back around and meet that. So wish me luck. All right, so about 6 hours ago, I glued up my drain. Now is time to test it to see if all the glue joints held. Okay, here we go. Will there be any leaks?
Oop, well, yeah, I made a little spill. But I'm only interested in whether or not the drain pipes that I glued together have any problems.
I can hear it draining through the wall. So, nope. Completely dry. Oop, is there one there? No, I don't know. All right, so the next steps have been completed. I put in the platform that the pan sits on. The pan is hooked up, the drain is hooked up, and I've tested it. It works wonderfully. And then the seal along the wall is specifically designed for this. It has a very sticky adhesive and then a fleece material that goes up the wall. So the next thing is that I'm going to put on the membrane for the tile. It also has a waterproof glue that is used to adhere it to the wall, and it is going to overlap all the way down. So there's going to be another waterproof overlap onto this. And then once the tile is done, there will be some silicone that goes around the edge too. So there's multiple layers of security here, I think. So the next clip will be once the orange membrane has been installed. So we want to remove the bidet. It's a nice bidet, but
it's just not practical for modern living. So we're gonna remove it. And then we can put a little table there to put towels on and all kinds of nice luxury bathroomy things. Now, whenever you're working on anything like this DIY, the first thing you need to think about is safety. Do you have the correct footwear? Check. So we have 2 water lines in here, hot and cold, and a drain line. I turned the water off downstairs for the whole house. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cap the water lines first. Enough with the shoes. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually cut the lines. In Europe and in France, there are a lot of different copper pipes diameters. When I did the shower, they were 12 millimeter. Wait, if I get that wrong and I cut these, I can never turn the water back on until I get the correct ones. So what I do is I use a pair of calipers and actually measure the diameter of the pipe. Calipers are super cheap. You can get them anywhere. So you just go like that, pull that off of there, and the size, outer diameter of that is 12 millimeters. All right, next I'm gonna cut the waste pipe with a hacksaw. It's plastic. Ugh. We're just gonna unscrew it. I think there should be a mounting plate that this screws into, but we're gonna find out. I'm gonna take the bidet, set it away. Now we need to cap off the waste and the water lines. So we have our bouchon, and what I like to do is take a little bit of sandpaper and take off any schmutz or burrs or paint. This copper pipe has been crushed, so that worries me a bit. It's no longer round, and I'm worried about the compression fitting actually making a good seal. Because if it doesn't make a good seal, we will have a permanent leak. Compression fitting on. This is the hot side. This is the one I'm worried about. Oh, it doesn't feel good. All right, we're gonna see if that works. We're gonna go turn the water on, see if we get any leaks on the hot side. Okay, I've turned the water back on to the house. And this one was never in doubt, the cold. That's a compression fit. This is the hot. I was a little bit worried about it, but nothing. No leaks. So now, this would be the waste pipe. It has to be sealed up. And I have something for that. It is a cap. Oh, it's a 40 millimeter. Oh, 40 is not the right size. That's not the right size. Is it a 32? Is there a 38? It's not right. I don't have the right size. Or do I? 30, 40, 32. I don't have the right size for that. 32. Thought it was an over. Is it 32? 32, yeah. Okay, so it's a little bit, well, plumbing is a little bit complicated sometimes, especially wastewater plumbing. You never know how things connect. So I wanted to put this plug on there like that, but you actually need a union to go between them. I thought this would slip over the pipe, but you need a union. I don't have a union on that size, but I do have a union for a larger one that I have. So I can use a larger one, and then I could step it down, and then I could put that there and let it sit like that. I'm not gonna leave that plumbed in like that. It needs to be capped much better. But this will keep any sewer gases from coming up in here. Eventually we're gonna remodel the bathroom, but now we can put a table here. Now I just need to take the bidet and get it out of here. Ooh. All right, so the shower is finished. Now I want to talk about the process and things I like, things I don't like, and some of the lessons learned from actually doing this project. It's amazing how much better the experience is now that the shower is done. But there's things about it that I don't like. First of all, the process of doing a shower like this, there's all these steps that I planned for, I don't know, weeks. And then you go to do the steps, and unless you're really, really good, unlike me, you kind of get to a step and you kind of forget stuff that you plan to do, or you forget some of the details, stuff like that. So one thing I did was I did not actually take the time to think about the grout lines between the tiles. These tiles are irregular, so the edges are wavy, and they look a lot better with the grout lines really tight. So if I had to do it all over again, I would make the grout lines much smaller. And then other things that I really didn't anticipate or think about when I was installing, because I did it over many days, I figured, well, I have a shower pan that's 120 centimeters long, and I bought the glass divider. It's the same size. They're supposed to go together. But what I didn't realize or think about was that when you put it against the wall, there's now thickness of the tile, the grout, the backer board, and all that stuff. So it's pushed this out, and it's actually overhanging the end of the shower pan a little bit. And that's like just a complete like amateur mistake. And like a professional would have done this so many times, they would know how to think about those kind of things. So the next shower I do, will be definitely thinking about that. And then the actual hardware that's on the wall. This is a really nice piece of hardware here, the tap set, and I had envisioned it being perfect and being wonderful. Now it operates perfectly wonderful. There's no leaks, and I really enjoy sitting under that sunflower shower head. But the whole thing is slightly anchored incorrectly, because the tiles behind the taps, like they jut out a little bit, and that goes all the way back several steps before, where you put a plate on that connects the hot and the cold water, and that sticks out a little bit. And then when you're putting on the backer board, there's a little bit of bump out there. And then when I put the thin set on for the tile, there was a little bit of inconsistency there. So all of that just adds up down the line to the taps not quite sitting correctly. So for now, when I'm standing under the shower and enjoying it, I don't really care. The biggest thing to embrace early on, the number one thing to embrace early on, is the challenge of the logistics of getting stuff done. I knew that would be, I know that that's a challenge, and that's part of the reason why we're enjoying this adventure here, is because things are different. Where we're from, the DIY culture, not only is it part of our general culture, it is a big business. So DIY shops on a retail level, they cater to people like me. They're open all the time. They're open late. They're never closed on Sundays. The materials are simple to use, on and on and on. And we have a car, and we can just drive back and forth and get whatever we need. Here, the logistics really are a challenge. I'm not complaining about it at all. It's just a challenge when you forget something to go and pick one up. So part of it is planning a lot ahead, but also planning that you will forget things, and that you may have to wait until tomorrow or the next day to be able to go to the shop and get what you need. So, and this may help other people that are trying to do something like this in France. Anything like the waterproofing, there's a waterproofing glue that goes on the wall that then you put the orange backer board on. That glue, I ran out, and I had to get another box of it, or another bucket of it, delivered to the door, and that took, I don't know, 4 days, 5 days. I think it came from Germany. When I was grouting, I also ran out of grout because the grout lines are bigger than I thought they would be. And so the box said it would cover this many square meters, but I actually needed more. So
My rule is whatever you think you're going to need in a material that is spreadable, triple that. Just get 3 of them. And it seems a little bit overkill or maybe wasteful, but the way I see it is it's extra insurance to being able to get something done on time, but also I'm going to use the materials up. I'm going to probably do another bathroom eventually, and so just buy 3 times the amount needed. Normally in something like this, especially like a professional, they'd say just add 10%, but I would say anything that is spreadable, triple it. The instructions on how much a spreadable glue or a thin set or mortar will cover is always under the most perfect conditions, and that's never the case with me. So that's my new rule. And then as far as getting this done, when I estimated this shower, I estimated that it would take me 2 weeks total to finish it, and it ended up taking me 4 to 5 weeks. Now, I wasn't working every day, but I had to wait for things to be reordered. We also had guests and things like that, and so that took some time away, and it was worth the break, but it ended up taking me a lot longer. And so what I have fully embraced is that there's always tomorrow. You can always just pick it up tomorrow or the next day. And one thing I've found long ago, not just on this project, is that if I'm working on something and I'm frustrated, it's never going to turn out well. So if I'm tired or I'm feeling pressure because tomorrow I've got to get to the next step, it's going to end up in heartache. So I'm just glad I'm not doing this for a living. This is just for us. So I just take my time. And when I get to the point where I don't want to do it anymore, or I don't feel like I'm getting a good result, especially with like glue or thin set, it's just not working, I just set it down and just come at it tomorrow. And when I'm in France, that's really easy to do because there's so much to enjoy here. I can just stop working. So then the other thing is with something like this is that the materials generally, especially like I keep mentioning, the spreadable, the glues, the thin sets, the cements, the mortars, they all are different than where I'm from, and that's might be the case for you too. And so they are formulated for what people expect here. And so getting used to that is something that takes time. And so the perfect example would be that when I was done with this, I had to do some caulking around everything. So I had clear caulking for like the glass, but white caulking for the edge of all the tile work. Now, back at home, the caulking is pretty much always water-based. It's very easy to apply, it's very easy to clean up, and you know how it's going to behave when you're using it. Not the stuff here that I got. Now, there was a lot of other products, but at the big box store, I got the normal bath and kitchen white caulking. And it turns out that that stuff is not water-based at all. It is, I guess, oil-based. Basically, the cleanup for it is mineral spirits. So I was applying this stuff and I would adjust with my finger and like get it into there and like finish the line up like I normally do, and then I couldn't get it off my fingers with water, and it just turned into this huge mess. And then inevitably there was the stuff that I needed to clean up in the shower, especially like when you run a bead of caulk and you want to use your finger and finish it up, and then it gets around the edge of your finger and now you've got extra. You have to wipe that off. Well, normally with water-based, you can easily just take a sponge and just wipe that off and it's perfect. Here, I had to go and grab the bottle of mineral spirits and clean the shower up with mineral spirits and rags, and it was a huge mess. And of course, mineral spirits don't smell great. So it was kind of a scramble. I knew I had time to work through that, but it was just a lot of material to clean up what normally I'm used to being really being very straightforward and you can just wash up in the sink. So understanding the materials is super important. Be ready for it to not go as planned. and then there's always tomorrow to finish it. So I guess the last thing I wanted to say, besides the fact that I'm really happy with this shower. I mean, it's such an improvement, an upgrade for us. And the process took a long time, but my goal coming to France this summer was to finish this shower, and I did it. If you are coming to France, especially from the United States, and you're going to do something like this, it really is an exercise in learning patience. And that's what I learned from doing this shower, and it was worth it.